Hi, welcome to tonight's 120 Seconds of History. Tonight we're looking at Alexander the Great. So, on the 11th of June 323 BC, having conquered the known world, Alexander the Great died in Babylon. He was aged 32, young man. He became king of Macedonia at age 20, and immediately upon ascending the throne set about conquering Greece with such viciousness that the Spartans, who'd been in battle with the Persians at Thermopylae only 100 years before, appealed to Persia for help against him. Nevertheless, he conquered Greece and moved straight on into Persia, winning 2 battles against King Darius of Persia by the time he was 22. Then he was forced to turn back and go towards Egypt, liberating Gaza and some of the other Egyptian states, and was proclaimed Pharaoh of Egypt at age 23. He returned then again to Persia, where he defeated King Darius again by the time he was 25, and entered the Persian capital as King of Persia. That's 3 titles by the time he's 25. He's been king for 5 years. He keeps going eastwards, and by the time he's 28, he's added a 4th title, King of Asia, to his growing repertoire. But his army's getting bored and restless, wants to go home to Macedonia. Alexander wants to push on towards India, or what he calls India and we would consider Pakistan on a modern map. He deals with the revolt in his army by replacing all his Macedonian generals with Persian generals, which doesn't go down well with his Macedonian troops, who revolt again, and Alexander's forced to reinstate his Macedonian generals. These revolts carry on happening. At this time in his life, his late 20s, early 30s, Alexander, who's always been stubborn, is becoming more and more alcohol dependent, and selfish, tyrannical, prone to delusions of divinity, bouts of megalomania and excessive paranoia, much to the point that in one drunken rage he kills a very good friend of his and doesn't feel particularly bad about it either. So he carries on, the troops rebel again, and he is forced, after 3 days sulking in a tent, to contemplate returning, which he does, but he only gets as far as Babylon before he either drinks himself to death, is poisoned, or dies of typhoid, no one's quite sure. His generals rip his empire apart because he doesn't particularly leave it to any of them, and his body ends up in Alexandria despite the fact it was supposed to go to Macedonia. It remained on display. He was embalmed in honey, survived as a mummy. He remained on display until about 200 AD and was a huge tourist attraction for the ancient Romans. So much so that the Emperor Augustus visited him and was so enamoured with it he accidentally broke Alexander's nose. At that point I will leave Alexander and say good night. Thank you to everybody. Don't forget to like and follow my page, and I will see you same time next week for another 120 Seconds of History. Night.